Hello. I thought I was starting to blame myself that I'm getting out of the youth, but I can see you have my Kenya, another one? Uganda. Good. I like Uganda's energy. So I hope throughout the session you're going to follow that. So good afternoon again. My name is Esther Kunda, and I'm the Director General in charge of Innovation and Emerging Technologies within the Ministry of ICT and Innovation. And I'm pleased to be here to moderate this policy roundtable. And usually when we talk about policy, I remember when I was young, we used to have so many precedents of conferences in terms of Youth Connect. I don't know if you've heard of Transform Africa. And we would go while I was still at university, and I would start looking at everyone in government, starting to tell them how the policies are not working for the young people, and now I'm here, and I don't know if I'm doing a good job. So I hope you're going to also look at the people who are seated here and ask us tough questions. Let us know if what we are doing, most of them are in private sector, if what they're doing is actually solving for youth, if it's solving for, it's really bringing digital and technology innovation to your doorstep, if you feel included, or anything around that. So, as you might know, all of you here, you're the driving force behind digital transformation and innovation. I believe some of you who are very young, you're called the digital natives. So it's very apt to say that you're the ones who we think technology and innovation can offer immense potential in terms of how do we create jobs, how do we enhance economic opportunities for you, and then of course, how can our continent reap benefits from technology and innovation and everything around it. So today we have a very esteemed guests and panelists. Mostly what they're going to be talking about is the initiatives that they're currently implementing and what they've been doing, especially on focusing on youth. And we're going to look at 3 areas. One is around infrastructure development for youth access. The second one is around digital skills development for youth employment. And the last one is around entrepreneurship and innovation-driven job creation. And each of our panelists is really going to talk about what they've been doing, and from each of the different sections, we will try and get your inputs and keep this policy conversation going. So, let me quickly do a bit of introduction so that you can see what's coming to you, and I'll let each of the panelists really talk about their companies. But let me start with on the far end, and then.
Thank you very much, Esther. My name is Patrick Ategabondo. I'm the Chief Operations Officer at Irembo. Irembo is a software company that is specialized in digitizing government services and that employ, in majority, the youth. When I joined Irembo, I was told that I was not part of the youth, but I've been converted to be another one of them. So we have over 200 of them that are quite into the development innovation sector, but also creating quite a number of jobs around it, especially in the ecosystem with the agent networks that I'm pretty sure we'll get time to talk about in
private ICT companies that are doing business from small ones, the startups, SMEs, ICT SMEs, and ICT corporates. And in terms of what we're doing with young people, so we are at the forefront of enabling, equipping young people with tech skills and getting them into digital entrepreneurship. So happy to be here, looking forward to exchanging and sharing the work that we've been doing over the last 12 years.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Mapula Budibe, and I'm the CEO at MTN Rwanda. We are an ICT company that is in the process of transforming from being a telco, traditionally, we've been operating in Rwanda for 26 years, into a tech co. And I think our interest in youth skills development and entrepreneurship really lies in what we aspire for in terms of the future representation within the company. Make sure that we really create the right representation of young people within the organization who are, traditionally, digital natives, but also we believe that their skill sets are better positions for the kind of challenges and opportunities that we want to take advantage of in future. And then I think secondly, in terms of entrepreneurship, we think we have platforms that can really enable and empower young people. So really pleased to be here and to engage in this very important discussion. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Conrad Tucker. I'm the director of CMU Africa. How many people have heard of the CMU Africa University in the room? Okay, we want everyone to be aware of Carnegie Mellon University Africa. What is our mission? Our mission is to educate the next generation of tech leaders across the continent. We are a Pan-African institution with students from over 20 African countries. We want to have students from every single African country. So if you have not heard of CMU Africa, or if you have a friend that's looking for a master's degree, please consider them to apply. Now, we focus on education, so the educator in me, maybe someone can answer the question of why Youth Connect, the Connect is spelled with a K instead of a C. Did anyone notice? Okay, so the educator in me always wonders about these things. So that was meant to be a joke. I mean, engineers aren't that good at jokes, clearly. But I'm glad that we're all here. We look forward to fruitful discussions. Before I go, I want to acknowledge my colleagues in the room, Stanley, Maria, Mariange, Rosine, Patricia, and William Matero. They're all here lending an arm and contributing to our mission. Thank you very much.
Okay, yeah, thanks a lot. And last year he asked me tough questions during Hunger Pitch Fest, the competition. Yeah, so, but I'm glad that we are together. And by the way, with our company, work with CMU in some occasions. Yeah, thank you. So I'm Vivens. I'm the founder of a tech startup company called Murava. And we operate into HR tech and edtech spaces. We are constantly building a talent marketplace platform, which is a Pan-African, where we are building the workforce across the digital careers from, of course, African countries, but with the biggest focus on the Rwandan market now. And we take these people and we place them in multiple job opportunities, both short-term opportunities, longer-term opportunities in different partner companies and organizations that we work with. And to highlight that this thing is working, we are proud that this year we reached over 1,000 people who found job opportunities from Rava. And we are getting many companies and organizations trusting to work with us. We reached over 250 companies, both startups and enterprise businesses, which shows that there is a value we are building where we are trying to combine the technology and the talent management expertise to really define how we can enable companies to find the workforce in a faster, easier, and even more cost-effective way than the traditional models that we are used to. And due to what we keep seeing in terms of really lacking qualified candidates, while we have many companies interested to work with us, we are currently starting education to employment programs so that we can build many workforce at scale, but also even planning to expand to new countries. If you are here in Kenya and Uganda and Tanzania, we are sure that next year we are stating our scalability plan. Yeah, good to connect with you after the session. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I hope you're starting to put down questions or even insights that you can share with in different sectors that you've had. So to quickly start, I wanted to come to Conrad. And really, I think technology, talent, skilling, and entrepreneurship is at the heart of what CMU does and what the mission is. Tell us more about that, and then also a keynote on how you think about this this topic that we're discussing today.
So thank you for the question. Deep tech education is critical for Africa to be empowered, to shape our own future in the technologies that are created. Our vision at CMU Africa is for the technologies themselves to be created here on the continent. And if that doesn't happen, all that will happen in the 21st century is another hopeless dependency of technology from outside the continent. So at CMU Africa, we challenge our students. It's a tough program. There's no shortcut towards innovation. It is very hard. As a matter of fact, our motto is, "My heart is in the work." That's what embodies the university. When you succeed, what awaits you at the end is an opportunity to contribute globally, to compete globally, but have the passion to stay on the continent because of all of the hard work that needs to happen to advance the digital transformation. Thank you.
Staying on that topic, I'm wondering, and I like CMU's vision in terms of competing globally. And I think most people here are young people. They've gone through either university, some of them might still be at university. What are the drivers of success? And what are the different, I'll say, programs that CMU is putting in place at university to enable these young people to actually go in the world ready to compete globally? Because I think now with technology, and later on Vivens might talk about it, I might be here in Rwanda, but I'm working in the US, I'm working in Asia, and I'm working everywhere. And when you're thinking about competition, you're no longer competing with the person who's your neighbor. So today, when you're thinking about higher education, what does that look like, and how are you advancing such?
So it starts with understanding what is the global standard. How many of us here in this room have used ChatGPT as an example? Raise your hand up. Bye. How many of you were impressed by the capabilities of ChatGPT? Now, if we look at a future of what does competition look like, it's not just competing with other human talent across the world. It's competing with human talent, it's competing with AI, it's competing with technologies that we are trying to have a deep technical understanding of, but we want to get there fast enough from an education point of view, so by the time we get there, the skill set that we've developed hasn't been automated. It's a constant race. So you're learning a new skill set, let's say coding in Python. By the time you learn that skill set, that technology hasn't automated that and made that job redundant. So this motivates the need to be very, very aware of the pace in which we need to move. Complacency cannot be the norm. The pace in which we need to move has to be the pace in which technology is progressing and also the world is progressing. Academia as well, CMU Africa is also changing. It cannot just be students coming to a physical classroom. We have to have a combination of in-person education, but also online and digital access beyond the confines of CMU Africa, beyond Rwanda, all across the continent.
Right. To build on that, I think I would go to Vivens, because I think when we think about readiness of skilled talent, that is one of the biggest questions, and I hope you've seen so many panels talk about are our youth ready? Where can they find jobs, etc. And Vivens, my question to you is: today you're trying to place talent. One, what are you requesting from them? Two, what is the job market requiring from them? And do we have enough jobs available on the market? And especially within this digital space, one of the biggest questions that we've had, especially when we look at where people are trying to unlock jobs, you find in traditional sectors, agriculture, in construction, and in other traditional sectors. There's not a lot of efforts to understand what is the job landscape within the digital jobs landscape. So what does that look like, and how is Umurava contributing to that?
Okay, thanks a lot. First of all, so the time we started Umurava, we thought that we are going to struggle in terms of onboarding companies and organizations that work with us because you are young, there are key players on the market. But what we realized, now as we speak, we spent 3 years now in operations, but we recorded over 500 jobs and we missed the workforce that can fill the jobs on the Rwandan markets. And to make this really clear, the areas that we focus on, they are now, we really center on 4 areas. We focus on the talents across tech and AI. We focus on the talents across digital marketing and communications, digital content production, as well as also data and research. That's what we focus on. Let me start from PP in digital media. And one of our biggest even company that we are proud to have as a partner is Rwanda Events. If you see some of the guys here in with brand Rwanda Events TC, we recruited many young talents for them recently. And the time we came, we thought that in digital communications, the issue is professionalism in terms of professional career growth, etc. So, but we realized that even deep technical skills, if they really need high quality deliverables, delivering what we do, you find that there is something which is still a gap. You find that either in both professional competencies, I'm talking about soft skills and other career growth behaviors, etc. You find that there is something to fix. But also even on technical skills, because most of these digital careers or digital careers, you find that most of our universities, not counting US-based universities that we have here like CMU, they are doing a great job. And as I told you recently, we hired many data scientists from the university. I was a part of the interviews and I was impressed with what they have been responding. So these international universities are doing a great job in terms of really getting people ready to hustle and even to enter the job market. And if they don't even have a skills, they can quickly learn. When you look at what African Leadership University is doing, Kepler, CMU, you find that they really have a touch. If they even don't understand something, they have that, we call it learning mindset. They are able to learn what they want to do to fix. So now, when you look at the other components, most of the times it comes to global companies. In global companies, and this is something, if you are a young person here, let's really fix it. You will find that most of the global companies, like UK-based companies, US, before they hire you, they have a technical assessments. And then most of our people here, when they're even looking for jobs, you will give them a technical test, they don't do it. They're like, this is so difficult. So you find that as well, even knowing that right way to enter into a certain company, it becomes a problem. But another thing, it comes to how they are used to running what we can call theory. So most of the times when you are used to theory and then they bring a technical challenge, you are just going to be afraid of it. And like recently at Umurava, we launched something called Skills Challenges. And what we do, we look at some of these partner companies, we look at the challenges they are facing, and we get those real work challenges they are facing, and we bring them for people to contest for money. And for those who win that money, if the jobs are open, they are the first people they need to hire. So I'm glad to see that at least most of Rwandans now are open to taking the challenges, either competing for money so that they can showcase their skills. So that's something we want to see many universities injecting in their programs, getting many project based scenarios and work so that people just get familiar. If they want to go to work for Google, you can't go in Google without passing a big technical challenge. For people who know One Acre Fund here in Rwanda, Tubura, the company called Tubura, what is known there is that to get a job there, their recruitment process is tough. But when people are used to getting those skills when they are still in the university, now it becomes an easier, and they see that technical challenge as a normal thing to work on. And the last part I wanted to highlight, it becomes most of the times people, when they need jobs, they tend to be good people. But once they land the job opportunities, they started to bring a lot of disappointments, especially young people. So because I'm glad that the corporate job I had before, I was working with old people. I was the youngest person in the office, I remember that. So you find that old people don't joke with jobs. But the young people, they are joking with jobs as if they don't know that they have a family responsibilities, etc. So that's something as well we really need to start telling people critically and deeply that workplace, and I think when it comes to workplace, you just have to go and get the work done. But you find that most of the young people, they are not catching it very well. And in the global companies, you are finally disappointing them. And once you disappoint them, we are losing, as Umurava, we are losing our revenue from that client. And we see young people we place in the jobs, they earn more money than even in the manner, you don't know if we will earn that money, they are changing their lives. But now when you go there and then you start to misuse, the resources, the company policies, that's why most of the times we are losing the clients. And one client will help you to run another one. And that's why we always make sure that these young people, we get a big onboarding process before we really enable them to start working for this company so that we de-risk that part of losing them. But to close, Esther knows that we talked about it, something called the digital confidence. What we are seeing now, most of the jobs being in agriculture, construction, etc., they are being digital enabled. And we want people to be at least, nowadays, Rembo, COO is here. Now most of Rwandans are digital literate because our parents know to use the phone, etc. But now we need digital confident people, especially to young people. Be able to navigate digital tools very well, be able to interact with your computer very well, be able to handle simple data on the Google search, etc., because that's what helps you to do the job. This is something I think which I would request the government of Rwanda to deploy funding so that we make Rwandans digital confident from really at least the high school to every old person, because that's where we are going. And you are sure that you are investing in a lot of digital infrastructure, then those things, they need the users and they need the people to see the benefits out of them. So those are a few things in terms of what I see, as the gaps and even the requirements for me I can impress from especially the ecosystem that we work with. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Vivens. So, learning, mindset, and getting the job done. And I think those are the two main things to have. And just wondering from Patrick, he said that he employs 200 young people, or including yourself. So just wondering, coming from what Vivens was talking about, what does that look like? But also from the point of view of citizens that you serve today, because I think with Irembo, it's one of the platform, considering that government is becoming fully digital in terms of services that they provide. What does that look like with more than 70% of Rwandans being young? Are they digitally confident? Are the people that you're employing, how are you getting to the point where you identify the right skill set, etc.? So would really like to hear from you on that.
Thank you very much, Esther. Allow me to backtrack a bit. Irembo, or at least the philosophy, the concept of digital governance, is a brainchild of the government of Rwanda. So building what we aspire for a zero trip, zero paper type of approach, of which was first a dream, then conversation, then a plan that was architected. We go all the way back to some 20 plus years ago, of which I'm taking this opportunity to renew our appreciation to the highest leadership of this country, starting with His Excellency President Paul Kagame, whom pushed really the limit of what we thought we could achieve by enabling and putting the right policy and regulatory framework in place to make it conducive, so that today Irembo can ride on the likes of the infrastructure that MTN is building, the talent pool that we can get from Vivance, the academia that CMU or even the private sector that is represented here. In terms of job creation, when Irembo was built, we're going 10 years ago, really the goal was to say, how do we run a digital governance, a government that is on electronic, providing services online, and making sure that really we cut those unnecessary trips from citizen to the nearest local government office, but also reducing the paperwork, also on the side of the government. As the first few services came on board, of course, there's something that events touched on, which was the need to build the skill set to support those that are requiring a certain level of digital literacy. A problem, a challenge that most countries in Africa, most countries in Global South are suffering of which then we, together with the government, Ministry of ICT and Innovation, and other partners, came up with a model where we'll say, look, we have communities, we have villages across the country. Let's make sure that we enable those young people, young women and men, ranging between 18 years and above, to be able to educate those in need. Because digital literacy touch two folds. It's access to the devices, access to the internet, but also the confidence to utilize those tools, which 10 years ago was one of the biggest problems we're facing. 10 years later, we realized that it's not only access to that, but also job creation. Irembo today indirectly employ over 5,000 active agents, ranging between 18 and 35, about 70% of them, which is the majority of the youth, confirming the numbers you're talking about. We're still low when it comes to the gender balance, women representing about 28 to 30%, but our goal really is to grow those numbers. And for the top performers in those agents are those that, transact up to 6,000 applications on a monthly basis, representing about 500,000 Rwandan francs monthly. You can just imagine a young girl or young boy generating up to 500,000, becoming a breadwinner of their family, and yet today they could probably be unemployed. So we believe in the way we create jobs, the way we impact in creating jobs. It's not by creating employees, but creating entrepreneurs. And like that, now you're seeing those that were considered to be small kiosks in those small communities are becoming small digital hubs. Like that, you're seeing most of them adding on top of Irembo platform, Irembo services, they're adding scanning services, printing services, photocopies, MTN mobile money, Airtel money, and becoming really the single digital point or assistant to the communities. Now, where we become even more, where we believe there's still some progress to make, is that we are making it more progressive and more competitive, in a manner that we always upskilling them with the different services that we bring on board. I believe, Esther, this year itself, we onboarded over 120 services. So how do we make sure that they're always up to speed to know how they can serve those customers, or rather citizens, but also growing their skills? And remember, we're also talking about not only helping them apply for the services, but also educating them. I believe today, on top of those 5,000 agents we have across the country in all the 416 sectors we also have an army of digital ambassadors, which is another group of young people that keep educating those in need, being through the Omuganda initiative, or even recently we even introduced something to do with Car Free Day. So we believe our impact is still to create jobs, to create entrepreneurship mindset and innovation for those young ones as a way to impact the society and the community and grow as we grow as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Patrick. And I think you touched on something very, very important, platform. Mapula, and I think you talked about MTN now trying to transition to be a tech company. But today, I think you're the biggest contributor to how access for young people looks like, especially on infrastructure and digital infrastructure. How do you envision in the next 5 years for a Rwandan young person or even MTN at a Pan-African level, enabling them to access jobs, retain jobs, create companies, using MTN as a platform and as a tech company? And what does partnership with millions of young people look like for you?
Thank you, Esther, and good afternoon again, everyone. I think from an MTN perspective, we believe that, as you've mentioned, we can be quite a catalyst to this ecosystem, creating a thriving digital environment in an industry. I think at the most basic level, it's about getting access to the device. I think there was mention of that earlier. Now, what that means is that at the most basic level, it's very important for an average young person to get access to a smartphone, because just by getting a smartphone, they are able to unlock so much opportunity at the most basic level, using whether it's social media or social platforms. There's a lot of young people today who are running thriving, successful businesses just by using social media. I think I don't have to talk too much about that. And it has very low sort of entry barriers, because all you need is a smartphone. Of course, it's still a barrier for some people in the country. So at that level, I think MTN is trying to work hard to, with different partnerships together with the Ministry of ICT, to increase access to smartphones. So that's the first level that I want to talk about. The second level, which is a level I'm very passionate about, and there was a little bit of mention of it earlier. MTN with Mobile Money, who is a fully owned subsidiary, we work with, I don't like to say we employ, I say we work with 65,000 agents across the country who are enabling the mobile money ecosystem across the country. And for them, once again, it's a device, but the device works as a small business. It allows them to transact, it allows them to serve customers, it allows them to earn an income. Every day we send them a mini statement of how much they've earned, So they walk away, they go home, they know every day I've earned so much. And we communicate to them through that platform. There's no barrier, they don't have to have qualifications, they don't have to have degrees, but they're able to earn a living. And we have agents that can earn on a monthly level in between 600 to 800,000, depending on how hard they work. And this is just by accessing an account and working as an agent. And of course, it takes a lot of hard work to be able to do that, but low barrier availability of a service that is able to help you create sort of a job for yourself. Now, the third layer is, I would say, a lot more advanced, but it's also an area that we are investing in quite significantly. And this is the very exciting open AI space. So we have a mobile money platform, and the core enablement that we provide is ability for payments, ability for collections, ability for transactions. Now, what that means for an average young person or entrepreneur is that without having to invest in your own platform, you are able to connect and integrate to our open API, but you need to bring something, You need to bring an innovation, you need to bring a service, you need to be able to solve a problem. And then through our open API, you'll be connected to sort of your audience, be it customers and whoever you want to serve. And I'm very pleased to say today we have 240 entrepreneurs who have integrated to mobile money. They came with a solution. Some of the solutions involve serving farmers. Some of the solutions involve serving the agents, sort of the motorists that you've seen around that are taking people around. Some of the services serve customers. So this is all about somebody coming up with a solution that can enable the public, society to basically conveniently access the service. Some of them actually enable schools. So 240 of them. And can you believe that these 240 entrepreneurs or businesses, they today are transacting to the level of 16 billion a month. So this is how much value of transactions passes through their platforms, through to our platforms. What we do, we take the burden. They don't have to worry about collections. Just use mobile money to do collections, just use mobile money to do payments, and then you can focus on your core service that you're providing. And I think we are proud of that because it takes away the burden of an entrepreneur having to worry about end-to-end platform. So I'd say those are the three levels that I see as an opportunity for young people who are looking for opportunities, not jobs, but looking for opportunities to impact society and a living.
So I hope a couple of people would add to the number 240 in the next few months. Coming to Alex with the ICT Chamber, I think we've all talked about opportunities and all that. But where are we seeing challenges today, right? And following that, I would then, because this is a roundtable, so we need to bring in all our friends around this table to talk about, based on what each person here has talked about, what do you think is a pain point today? And how are you being part of solving that? But starting with Alex, I think with ICT Chamber, there's different levels of how you're operating. One, you're representing the private sector in itself, and they're in the space of creating and ensuring that digital technologies are servicing Rwandans mostly and at a Pan-African level, but then also a variety of programs from entrepreneurship to digital skilling and others that you're doing. Let's talk about where the gaps are today. When we think about coming out of this space, we've talked about skilling, enabling jobs. Everyone has talked about the opportunities that they've brought. But at a high level, where are the gaps today?
Thank you very much. So I'll talk about the gaps previously, those that have been filled and those that that we see today. So as the ICT Chamber, we have about 5 key pillars, and those 5 pillars serve more or less 4 of them serve 2 categories. One is looking at main thing being how do we build the digital economy, okay, and how do we enable that? Starting off with, okay, any economic equation must have supply and demand. So yes, we are training young people. There's a lot of skilling that is going on, but who is demanding for them? Okay, and when you're on the other side of the equation, you're also wondering where are those opportunities. So what the first thing, the pathways or the pillars that the way we've looked at them is one, starting with supporting young people or supporting just digital entrepreneurship, facilitating that journey from talent development to, okay, now you have skills, now you have knowledge or you have information and ideas. How do you translate that idea into a product that you can actually defend so that you can demonstrate to Vivens and the rest that you actually have skills, the technical skills that he was talking about, that you can build things. So that's step 1. Step 2 is, okay, how do you translate that into a business? because not every innovation, not every capability is a business in its own right. So some of them are just, they are great ideas. They can demonstrate how cool you are, how updated you are, but they won't really, they won't make you money. You won't survive on the market. And then once you're past that, okay, you've put a few things. So that's, in the past, the challenge we've always, we had was that you are at uni, you're coming out of uni, you're closing, you still have these things, you don't have access, you no longer have access to university, right? University resources, to the computer lab or to the campus or the hostel that you were using. So the question would be, okay, where am I going to continue building this thing from? Okay, and that was a gap. So in 2012, we set up, in partnership with the government, the ministry, RDB, and others, created the first tech hub, which was Scale Hub. And then the challenge was, okay, that is so cool for software people. Okay, so you can come with a laptop, sit, get access to the internet, and then one guy asked us, but I'm studying mechanical engineering, electrical engineering, what do you have for me? Okay, which gave birth to now, okay, we need to move into, we need to explore computational anything, add anything to that. It could be even computational history. You can use virtual reality and augmented reality to build products around that. But he asked us a good question. So went around, found out that actually there was a lot in digital fabrication, computer-aided manufacturing, computer-aided design, that we solved that 2016. Fast forward, people were building these things and they were getting stuck in our facilities. Okay, they were not moving. Why? Because after you've built this stuff, then you need funding, there's several other things, the Transform Africa summits that Esther referred to. You'd come, you'd pitch, you try to convince investors, they say, you're too early, it's not yet time. So again, came back, this roundtable is ecosystem, right? Policy and everything. So there's been all these engagements. We look at a gap and try to see how do we solve it. On the other hand, our members, the private companies like Irembo, like MTN, and Umurava and the rest, they're asking us, where are they? We want to employ people, but we're not seeing them, because most of them had also become entrepreneurs and have become entrepreneurs. So long story short, so program after program, and luckily we've gotten several other partners coming to join us on this journey. But now that was the challenge we're looking at there, was most of the time was an infrastructure type of challenge. Infrastructure not from an internet connectivity infrastructure or data center infrastructure, but rather from space. Okay, where can I? So for those that would make it to Kigali, it was easy. You could come to Telecom House. Some guys would walk from Nyamirambo to Telecom House in Kachiru. You can also begin to imagine how that goes. Now, outside of Kigali, okay? And I remember a vivid example. A student calls, WhatsApps me from the US, coming for holiday, and I want to do an internship. I just say, oh, you can come. Yeah, I want to come and be at Fab Lab, hang out, do some work there, da, da, da. I say, yes, fine, you can come. I forgot to ask him where where his home was. After he lands, he tells me his home is in Huye. Okay, so so definitely, so this begins to, we already knew it, but begins to also show and even put more pressure on the fact that Kigali is not the only place where innovators are coming from, that actually there is also in all these other districts. And what we've been trying to really do, and thank our partners, UNDP, the ministry, EU, and all these that have helped us come along this journey. So now today you have these resources at Hunger Hub in Musanze, in Huye. So that time he came, we figured out how his accommodation in Kigali, in Rusizi, in Muhanga, in Nyagatare, and in Rubavu. So, and kind of is it a call to action or an action point for you if you're here and you're either coming from these locations? That's where your colleagues are meeting, who are innovating, who are building cool stuff. Trust me, some of them are here. You will meet them, yeah. And that shows the commitment that has been there. I think some of it Patrick referred to from our highest leadership to say we need to invest in science, in young people, and the resources have gone in. But where are the challenges? The challenges, we're seeing them in the appetite, in the self-drive that the hustle mindset that Vivens was talking about, giving up so quickly. Okay, we run programs and we say they're self-elimination programs. We don't eliminate you. We put out a call for applications. We send you materials to follow online. And if you make it to the next stage, if you complete the material, self-paced material, then you come to the next stages. Still, we don't eliminate you, okay? It is only yourself that will eliminate. And that's where, Esther, that's where we're finding a challenge. And we want to, I don't know how to put it, encourage or challenge our young people that these resources are there. There is no excuse. Today, at least if you're a Rwandan young person, there's no excuse. Even an American university is in Rwanda with faculty, okay, and scholarships. So you really, it's up to us to challenge ourselves, to dream beyond our wildest dreams. My friend told, one of the entrepreneurs in Hunger Pitch Fest program told me the reason he built and specialized in mobility is because the richest person in their village in Karongi was a driver. So his whole life, he has just focused on building mobility solutions because that's what he's inspired. So another one told me he wanted to be a teacher because the richest person he knew in the village and the most influential person was a teacher. Now, we all have smartphones and the internet has made it possible for us to have exposure to TikTok. But don't use TikTok just for the sake of, for those. Be inspired and know that all these things are within reach. Now, I'll close with this, the opportunities. So the biggest challenge for us as industry ecosystem builders is that we are getting requests for employment. Okay, employers, our companies, our member companies, and others are asking us, we want these skill sets, we want this mindset, we want this attitude. They're not just hiring because you're technically good, they're also hiring because you have the right attitude, an attitude of a problem solver. Okay, someone who's not just going to give up on the first attempt, who's going to go through all the way. So the challenges on the employer side is finding the right match in numbers, okay? And sometimes the other, for our members and even other partners that are coming to us are saying, okay, look, I'm even willing to go as far as training them on taking them through a training program, but I'm a business at the end of the day, okay? If someone really cares about these young people to get them jobs, can they invest in the training? I will guarantee the employment. That's how far they are going. Okay, so it's multifaceted, but the opportunities are there. They are global. Okay, so just an understanding that we're not competing. You're not competing with the person sitting next to you. So it's not that primary school, high school, where you're trying to hide your answers, okay, so that they don't copy you. You're competing with the world, with the rest of the world. And how do we build each other? How do we support each other so that we take advantage of the global opportunities? Because the investments that have gone into digital infrastructure, at least digital infrastructure, digital skills, etc., they are for us. And Patrick was just telling me that he's losing talent to global companies.
But you are coming after them.
Yes, yeah, but they're also going to become global. So they're going global so that they are able to keep their talent. So those are the challenges that I see. And I know some entrepreneurs here, including one that I'll not mention names. If I don't say that there's a challenge on funding and fund and capital for startups, I'll not have done my I'll not have done my job very well. So some of that, but the attitude, the mindset, knowing what you want, and being able to identify who has it. Because not everything that you need today as an entrepreneur is going to be, has only one answer, money. No. Some of it just need to go to a lab, at Fab Lab or at Hunger Hub lab, and you can print your material, you can print your stuff, you can produce, or you just need to talk to your neighbor and say, oh, can you build this with me? So, yeah.
Thank you very much, Alex. And I just thought about two things while he was speaking. Right after COVID, I think everyone has heard about digital nomad. There's now a new career called being a digital nomad, but most of those people either are working remotely or actually doing digital jobs, whether it's you're a virtual assistant, whether you're this and you can work. We don't have a beach in Kigali, but you can go to Rubavu for that, you know? And that's where the kind of infrastructure, the digital infrastructure is. So I think in the digital space, one, there's new opportunities that are coming up. There's tech, there's new types of emerging technologies that are creating new types of jobs. And also in terms of scale, I remember 2-3 years ago, we had companies that we call BPO, really start scaling their activities here in Rwanda. And one day they started recruiting 20 people. In 6 months they were at about 300-400 people in a couple of months. So the scale is huge and the opportunities. But I think our esteemed panelists have talked about, as a young person, how can you actually take advantage of that? So I wanted to just go around the room. I'm pretty sure some of you have greater insights than what we've given here. And I would like to see, I'm not sure if we have ushers who can help us with microphones. Fantastic. So interventions could be a question very specific to any of the panelists, but it could also be an insight. I think most of our panelists have talked about how, for example, from MTN's point of view, the types of jobs that are coming in the space that don't require any type of technical skills per se, but drive. The CMU's readiness and ensuring that the tech talent that is getting out there is globally competent and competitive. And then the employers, the enabler, the ecosystem enablers, and the other entrepreneurs that are driving jobs on the market today. So what are your insights? Or based on the conversation that we are having? There's someone already who has put up their hand. You can, both of you, and then we'll try and see if from this side. And if you have a question, please address it to any person on the panel.
Thank you very much. My name is Fabrice Fashmana. I am the program manager with Rwanda, and the good news is that most of the insights you shared, I agree with you, mostly. We at DOT, we recently launched a new project, the Digital Skills for Employability, where we are also targeting young people. But I want to address this to the panel because I never heard this being mentioned in interventions per se. I will start with the aspect of gender representation, especially young women in the top tier tech jobs. So I would like to hear your interventions or your view on this part, because from my experience, we really have a small number of young women when it comes to high-paying tech jobs per se in that space. We know that there's so many programs and skilling programs that target young women, but we see them as at the entry level. But from CMU aspect, like you are doing masters in tech, so how are we bridging the gender digital divide? And then finally, I want to touch on the rural youth. When I was sitting, I was thinking that maybe next time we can see if we can take Youth Connect in the countryside, because most of the opportunities are in the city, like CMU is in the city, Mulava is mainly in the city, IST Chamber. So, so we sometimes we forget that the city occupies less than 20%, and we have many young people residing in rural areas. And they are the ones who actually need to have access to these jobs. I don't say that all people in the digital, so in the city are employed, but we really need to leave no one behind. And we see how we bring this innovation and these skilling opportunities to the rural youth. So thank you very much. I'd like to just hear your intervention on those points. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm Emmanuel Tuzel, currently a student, a public health student. Just allow me to take you. You've been going through tech and the people that are doing tech as well. Just allow me to take you to the beneficiaries. Just who are the beneficiaries? Just why policies? Policies are there to just give the guidelines to how their systems are going to operate, right? So just first of all, I would like to thank the Ilembo, the K-Lab for their great innovations they are bringing to the country. I've been there at K-Lab, I've been seeing the 3D printers, just is a little good thing. And Ilembo, I access some services there. And although I'm not qualified to go to CMU, but I know it is a really good place to be for tech people. So Rwanda's population now is above 13 million of people. And about 83% of the people are just living in rural areas. And they are the beneficiaries of all the digital services and tech services that are being implemented in Rwanda. So how do you see the affordability and the accessibility, even the digital services in Rwanda, specifically in rural areas? Just I would like to address this to the MTN, Madam there, and Ilembo. Thank you. And I would like to see just what tech-based institutions like CMU and AAU, just what they are doing to address the current challenges that are being faced by the beneficiaries. Just I want you to take to the people and my grandma who is down there, just the tech services and the digital services that is around there. Just thank you.
Thank you very much for the excellent questions. I'll address the CMU Africa focus questions on access and the diversity of our students. So, what's your name, sir? Emmanuel. Emmanuel, it breaks my heart that you've already, in your mind, thinking that you are not ready or good enough for CMU Africa. I think that mindset is what we need to change across the continent, where your starting point is that you're not good enough. So what I'm committing to you is a meeting, and my colleagues are there, for you to come in to my office and let's chat of where you are now and what it would take for you to be at the technical readiness of CMU Africa. Have I been cut off? Okay. Okay. So I'm committing to you to have a meeting. Just let's discuss where it would take for you to get to where you need to be. And I think that is also feedback for us as CMU Africa. If we are in Rwanda and across, on the continent, and we have students who are starting with this mindset, then we need to do a reflection of what we can do to communicate that CMU Africa is here to advance the transformation of the continent. We want to expand. We have programs called bridge programs that before you get into CMU Africa, we educate on English enhancement, coding skills. So all of those programs need to be expanded. And this connects to the question that was asked about where we are in terms of gender parity and what CMU Africa is doing to increase the number of female students. So we're currently at less than 30, similar types of numbers with Irembo. We need to do better. The strategies that we are adopting, we have CMU Africa is leading a Pan-African network called the Afritech Network. And within that network, we have engineering-ready students, female students, that we can directly, through our partners, do a better job recruiting from. Locally, from the University of Rwanda, we also have a bridge program where a lot of University of Rwanda students are coming from. These are how we are reaching out to specifically increase the number of female students in our program. Has anyone heard of the organization Mentor Her? Mentor Her? So Mentor Her is a Rwandan-based organization that's specifically focused on women in cybersecurity at the high school, at the undergraduate senior level. So this is another pool of students, and CMU Africa has sponsored the event, and we're collaborating with Mentor Her as another pool that CMU Africa can recruit from in order to expand our female participation. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, thank you so much. I would like to contribute to the question around women's representation, because I think it's a very important question, and it's quite a challenging question. And the reason I say that is that, you know, it's 2024, but we are still struggling, first of all, to attract, and then secondly, to retrain young women in the tech space. And this is, in Rwanda specifically, 25 years after, you know, we've been operating. Maybe just to give you a few statistics. So today, within the MTN organization, we're currently sitting at 36% women representation, which I think it's not unusual for the tech industry, but we definitely aspire to having it higher. In fact, our ambition is that by 2026, this number should be 50%. To tell you how seriously our group is taking this at an MTN global level across the MTN countries, I have a KPI, together with other CEOs on the continent, that 60% of our new recruits have to be women. Okay? This is a KPI. It's a KPI that was introduced this year, and I can tell you, unfortunately, we're not doing so well. So far, we've managed to get to 34%, because two things. I think the first thing is that we see a lot of women who are shying away from technology opportunities. I think when you look at, so I've given you the 36%, when you look at the technology side, just the tech teams, we're sitting at 15%. So this is in IT, in network, there are just not enough women who are actually applying for those kind of opportunities. So it's quite a challenge. What are we doing to bridge it? I think we have two programs. We have a data science program that we introduced about 3 years ago. And when we recruit, we are very deliberate. In fact, last year, our intake was 60% women. We had to be very, deliberate. But on the downside, and it speaks to what Vimans was saying earlier, I think the confidence somehow along the way, is not necessarily allowing a lot of the ladies to continue. Maybe just to give you the numbers, we started off with about 28 graduates, 60% of which were women. And today we only have 15 remaining. And most of them, at least 12, are men. So we're left with 4 that are ladies within the data science program. And I think this is obviously the first intake for data science. And what I've been trying to understand together with our EXCO is how do we create more, because they're working amongst a lot of men, and sometimes it happens that they may get intimidated for whatever reason. So it's about how do we pair them with mentors, other women who have basically, achieved within the tech space, within the organization. So those are some of the things we're looking at. Or creating a space which is specific for them alone. Because when they sometimes are amongst the men, maybe they get intimidated. So we're trying to understand it, to be honest. But it has a lot to do with what Vivans was talking about, having that digital confidence to actually, really see these programs through. So we really need just, a lot of effort, both from the organization side as well as from sort of the entrance to really, see these things through. The other thing we are doing is to we have a women's program called Rising Leaders, where once women have passed the 3-year mark, because we also, as I spoke about, we have a problem with retention. Once they've gone through the 3-year mark, we actually challenge them to venture into the tech areas. So you might have a woman who's maybe in finance. Now, 3 years later, they're now at MTN, they're confident, they are settled. So then, based on a specific strength, we then push them into, just encourage them to say, why don't you try this? And that's working very well. So we've seen a lot of women who are pivoting. So somebody might pivot from finance to IT. Somebody might pivot from finance to even revenue assurance, but looking at specifically, data science or analytics. So those kind of programs are working better because the employees are more, settled, they're more confident. So, I mean, to just bring it, into conclusion, I think it's really something that we really need to work in partnership. I was speaking earlier with the director for CMU to say, we need to really partner with organizations on this because it's really, really important. And when you work in Rwanda specifically, it's actually even more challenging because when you look at sort of the leadership, you see that it's possible, with 60% of representation of women in the government. But I think this is something that we are still working hard to solve. In terms of opportunities for young people in rural areas, definitely it's a challenge. But I did mention that, we have actually platforms that don't require physical presence. Just by having some of these, solutions. One Acre Fund is one of our partners. So we have a challenge today, maybe I'm throwing out there, where we are not able to always give lending service to the farmers. Now that could be sort of like an interface that somebody develops for farmers in rural areas that is, enabling them to pay seamlessly through mobile money or even with Irembo. So these are kind of solutions that don't necessarily have to have a sort of proximity as a prerequisite. But what we are doing, we've partnered with the GSMA to drive digital skills capacity building. So, and we are very, focused on rural areas for that. Because we think that's where the digital confidence, I really like the idea of digital confidence. I think that's where maybe the need is most. So I think, so that's one area that really needs also a lot of focus. And I want to address your point around affordability of services. No, definitely this is something that is an ongoing need. I mean, in Rwanda, the Ministry of ICT often speaks about the usage gap. The infrastructure is there, the platforms are there. How do we get people to start using? Now, affordability in our sort of industry, we look at it in 3 levels. The first one is getting a phone. Okay, it costs at least about 8,000 francs to get a mobile phone, right? Now, there are people who can afford that. I traveled to the regions about 2 weeks ago, and I saw people who were still walking around with SIM cards without a phone coming into our service centers. It's happening, And on our network, we have 3.5 million people still using 2G. A lot of people around the room are walking around with smartphones. They're still on our network. Out of 7.5 million people, there are 3.5 million just using a feature phone. No internet. I don't think you can imagine what that is. But that's the first thing. So we are working very hard with our distribution partners to make sure that phones are available. I know that Esther might not like me saying this, but there are people who just want a phone. Now, what are we going to do? We're going to partner with distributors and manufacturers such as Transion, Tecno, ITEL. Let's just give them a phone. I get a phone, I'm now able to access digital services in the form of mobile money. So that's the first affordability challenge, making phones available. The second one around phones is then the next level, smartphones. Now, it costs 8K to buy a mobile phone. At minimum, to buy a smartphone, you are paying minimum 70K. Now imagine from 8K to 70K, just to be able to access a smartphone. So huge, huge challenge, but we're working on different programs to try to tackle that. The first one is we're working with different organizations to try to get funding to be able to subsidize the phone. Recently, we launched a phone which was 20K, just to be able to get people to be able to afford. That has done very well in terms of people being able to access. And immediately, they start using the internet. And it's interesting, when we did some focus groups, some people, when you ask them, do you use the internet? No, I don't use the internet. What do you use? No, I use TikTok. But for me, I really liked it because people are focused on the service. They focus on what it's doing for me, not the internet. So that really did well. So we are trying to find more programs to subsidize the phone, bring it to 20K, bring it to 30K. We went to China together with the leadership team of MTN about 3 weeks ago. And we went to factories. We visited about 3 factories in China where we saw them assembling phones. And for me, my question is, why can't that happen in Rwanda? Because, bring it to be assembled in Rwanda so that the cost can reduce. So these are some of the things we can try to look at in terms of reducing the cost of smartphones. And then thirdly, having programs that allow people to pay, over a period. So that's the first level, getting the phone. Now, the second one, in terms of affordability, I would say it's data services. Of course, as more and more people get used to data, they need more services. And I think this is an ongoing effort. In the last year, our data pricing has dropped by 35%. It's a big drop, but it actually enables more people to come on board. And the more people use, the more they can actually enjoy services. And trust me, I know it's not enough, but this is something that will happen over a period. So I think affordability of data services is an ambition we are working towards, but we are proud to say in the last year we've already managed to drop it by 35%. And then the last one is obviously affordability of mobile money services, to be able to transact without having to worry too much about your fees. And this is another one that I think we are working on. I think there's a lot more services that we'll be bringing to drive this kind of access, such as lending, so that people are able to use today, pay after, a few weeks and so forth. There are some services already in place, but we are planning to enrich the ecosystem with more services to allow people. But I can safely say, working with the Ministry of ICT, this is a priority. I can assure you that we are being very much held accountable for, and we are working hard to address it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mpula and Conrad. Patrick?
Yes, let me just complement what Director Conrad and CEO Mapula mentioned. In regard to the gender parity, the way to look at it, Irembo is at the receiving line. So whatever it is that the likes of Carnegie Mellon University, ALU would produce, will be the one who will be receiving on the receiving line. But we don't stop there. One of the key findings, one of the elements that we realized was the best engineers we have at Irembo. Those few young females, young girls who accept to join the sector also represent the best engineers we have. For instance, today, the best database administrator we have, a young lady coming from Kenya, is just doing an amazing job. The best quality assurance engineers we have, in majority women, we've not operated at that level before. Some of the youngest newly recruits NOC manager is another young girl who was young mother now, who was doing an amazing job in really conducting observability and monitoring. So one key front of action we've been doing is to find ways to invest into demystifying. This is not the words I'm throwing Mapula. It's not about digital confidence, but also demystifying the areas of technology innovation. So one of the incentives, one of the initiatives that we're organizing, some of the, I believe those living in Rwanda, you've heard about Irembo Tech Talks, where we invite people, we talk about different aspects of the technology sector. Sometimes back we even organize an AI hackathon, where we invite young female and men, encouraging women to come and show them it's actually an area they can strive in. It's something that you can only motivate, you can only encourage, and really collectively with the likes of MT and our partner, or Carnegie Mellon University, to encourage our young our young sisters and daughters to join the sector. It's not magic, it's doable. If today I'm talking about the best engineers we have, some of them are really young mothers. By the way, that's another problem that they share. They say, no, it's doable, but I'm in my early 20s. When I'm in my mid to late 20s, I'm planning to get married and to have children. And I've realized you guys in engineering, you don't sleep. I really want to raise a family. Let me just reiterate and stress that we have young mothers. As a matter of fact, one of our best digital payment engineer is a young mother, a mother of 1 month baby, and she's now still on a maternity leave, but I'm pretty sure when she comes back, she'll come and do other magic. So there's nothing magic about it. There's just a way of understanding that it's an area where we can strive in, being female, being male. By the way, female also represent a great sense of patience, which why they produce the best engineers. Because engineers, you also require a lot of patience, a lot of sense of striving, and this is what I want to do. I just want to make a quick comment about a question that was raised by, I think, Emmanuel Tuyizere, which to me is also touched what Fabrice Fashimana touched about the rural area. Let me first talk about the affordability. Irembo, we understood the need not only to bridge the digital divide gap that we're all facing, but one of the things that we invested in really hand in hand with the likes of MTN, Airtel, and other in the ecosystem, was also make sure that some of these services, we take them as close as possible to the citizen through the USSD technology. Today, Mapula mentioned about 3.5 million still running on feature phones. So you make sure that you don't exclude them in the ecosystem. So that's why today we have the likes of the CBHI, Community-Based Health Insurance, commonly known as Mutual. 97% of them are applied through feature phone, and actually 97% of them being across the country. Second thing is, we've empowered those agents who are residing to the level of sectors and now pushing them to all the 2,100 sales we have across the country to ensure that they support them to reduce that cost of affordability, but also ensuring that we don't pass the cost to the citizen, but rather we bear the costs in a form of commission and incentive that we distribute to the agents. So it's a journey. It's a good problem to solve, but also presenting a lot of opportunities. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Patrick. Maybe to go towards the close of our session, and as we try to interact, we will mingle and continue asking our panelists very interesting question. I wanted to come to Vivens and then Alex as we close. Vivens, what is your thought about this, and especially how are you in terms of we've talked about gender and inclusion of rural youth into jobs. How are you? What is the status today, especially with the work that Umurava does? And then for Alex, he talks about rural and no hunger hubs. You talked about it. Let's also touch upon it, and then we try and close.
So thank you. I think I talked this more than I think 2 times with Alex in Tare. So at Umurava, we are a startup company and we don't have enough resources, but we are trying to become problem solvers. And currently, I think Dr. Rwanda is in the room here, which I think we are partnering soon as well. But I was born and raised in a rural area, by the way, and that's why even I studied. And something which pushes me to do even this is simple. Rural communities are hosting great and creativity people, but no one who can help them. And I remember as well, by the way, in high school, I did education. I did teaching because all of those big families and where I was born from were teachers, by the way. So you tend to know other great stuffs when you just come from there. But one of the purposes for Umurava is really to decentralize digital jobs. And decentralizing digital jobs means going to rural communities, either building on the top of infrastructure, which is already there. University of Rwanda is across every province in the country. Number 2, we also have a hunger hubs. Alex knows I visited them most of the times to see what you can build on the top of it. But which is also a call to action to MTN and other people are really distributing internet to us. Most of the times when you reach in these rural communities, internet is not working well, and it will limit you completely to eventually even hire someone who is based there but who is great. But what I would mention on that as Umurava, we want really to decentralize the job opportunities to the people who are based in rural communities. And I'm glad to mention that we started our journey and we are identifying the partners to work with in that journey. That's number 1. 2, women. Whenever I go to talk to young talents, especially in tech, I always tell them that there is a misconception we understand about technology, where we think that if you're in a tech career, you are going into coding only. There are a lot of other roles they talked about. You can be UI and UX designers, product designers, you can be quality assurance. Those are the things that they have said. So it's the matter of most of the times our people are not even aware very well. So which I think we need really to be showing career paths across tech careers so that women know where they will replace themselves. To us, most of the UI and UX designers and product designers we place in the companies and organizations, most of them are women, and they're doing a great job. And recently we partnered with, which I think now is something, for me I was also confused, but we partnered with an organization called Ishikani Code. Now we onboarded 12 young women who passed through their software engineering bootcamp. We took them in 4 groups. They are embedded into our senior engineers teams, working on multiple products for our companies. And do you know what? Last 2 weeks, I took all of those ladies to lunch. Why? I got the feedback that they are doing a great job and the possibilities that we will hire them at the end of the day once they are done with 6-month program. So it's the matter of really giving them all of the resources they need and trying to show them that take a career, it requires you to sit and work. Which I think we have to say the truth, and Esther can defend that. She learned that. So it's the truth, but there are multiple tech careers to explore. But from Umurava, what we saw on a daily basis, Many companies are telling us we need the women, we need the women, we need the women, we need the women, which is the reason why we are trying to really get some specific apprenticeship programs like what we did with Shikani Code, so that we can bring many women in our talent pool, and we can even empower them on what we are eventually doing. But anyone with a plan like what even on a digital confidence, I didn't mention it, but we started the program to work on it. We have a program called the Career Ticket. It's a job readiness program focusing on building a digital confidence capacity for young people and the soft skills capacity, so that once we deploy them to jobs, we know that they will be productive and professional. So which is also a program that we are scaling, and we have some international organizations that we are trying now to work together so that we can avail it to the young people. So that's what I can conclude with. And for young people, if you guys are here, umurava.africa is the website. And once you are not in a tech career, we have a collaboration with these other HR firms. When you're in another area, we will orient you to some specific HR firms that will help you also to run the job opportunities. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Esther. So, closing for me, I want to echo what Vivens touched. It's a word, pathways, but add a few other words early before it, digital job pathways. And most of the times when we talk about tech, we leave it very vague and abstract. So the easiest way to interpret it as a young person or anyone is to think the people that are writing code are the only techies. But I think what I would encourage those that are here is explore the different pathways. You could be in finance. I was joking with Esther that most of our iconic, Fabrice, the question you asked, most of the icons in this country, the women, are bankers. Look at any bank in Rwanda, and the CEO is a woman. So, but besides that, there are so many varieties where we can apply our tech skills, and understanding for all of us who are working in the ecosystem, designing programs, if we can adopt clear definitions of things so that we give the young people, leave them no confusion. So if you're a mechanical engineer, you should not be thinking that, I'm only going to be repairing cars or going to be building things, but there's no way I'm related or I'm connected to digital or to ICT for that matter. There's a lot that you do with computational fluid dynamics. There's a lot that you can do in biology, with genomics. If your passion is in healthcare, health informatics, yeah. So there's quite a lot that we've not been doing a good job. I'll blame myself. We've not been doing a good job in helping clarify and put that. That's why we're pushing together with the ministry, we're partnering on the Digital Inclusion Council, going back towards inclusion and inclusivity, and making sure that we're not biased to cities, we're not biased to only men, we're not biased only in coding, because it's what people are defining as tech, but we cover and we take a triple helix type of model to look at what is coming from academia, what is the private sector asking for, and what are policy makers, how are they making sure that that the environment is also conducive. But in the meantime, as we prepare, please do some homework on understanding the different digital job pathways beyond writing code on a black screen in a Linux box. So that you'll realize that there's way a lot more that we can do with tech skills. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I would like to come to the close of our roundtable. I think this was one of a very interesting conversation. It was a very, very interesting conversation, and there's a couple of things that I've learned. attitude being one, exploring more ways of thinking about tech jobs and digital jobs, but also most importantly, the kind of opportunities that are available. Whether you're looking at it, the infrastructure that is being set up, the academia and the work that CMU Africa is doing, from the employers themselves, and in general, that aligns with what we are looking at. If you're Rwandan, you know very well that part of our main goals in the next 5 is to create jobs. So my hope is that at the end of 5 years, digital jobs is going, and tech innovation is going to be at the top of that list. So how do we contribute to that? Coming back to Emmanuel, actually 2 weeks ago I met 2 doctors are currently at CMU in their master's program. So, health tech needs doctors to understand how to apply technology. Agriculture needs agronomists to apply technology in that sector. So there's very, very important, and I'll call it this merging of technology is an enabler. And if we have the skills in that, in technology, we can influence every economic sector that we're interested in. So thank you very much. I don't want to be between you and your nice evening. So have a good evening, and a round of applause again for our esteemed panelists.